Moon of Ruin. The moon's surface was a barren, lifeless expanse, its dusty landscape stretching for miles beneath a darkened sky. The silence was absolute, a chilling emptiness that echoed through the broken craters and jagged rocks. A steady, cold wind swept across the terrain, carrying the faintest scent of sulfur, the only hint of life in an otherwise dead world. Two alien figures stood on the edge of a deep chasm, their faces shrouded by the obscurity of their helmets, their bodies cloaked in battle armor. The tension between them was palpable, charged with the weight of both the environment and their shared hatred. These were no mere travelers, no simple explorers. They were warriors, soldiers bred for combat on their distant worlds. Varek, a towering figure from the volcanic planet Ignar, adjusted the collar of his armor, his eyes narrowing as he observed his opponent. He was tall, with a muscular build that rippled beneath his dark exosuit, his skin a deep, molten red that gleamed in the moonlight. His helmet bore a distinctive, flame-like design, a symbol of his people's unyielding nature. Opposite him stood Kaelon, a lithe and agile warrior from the ice-covered planet Veldar. His appearance was starkly different from Varek's. He was smaller in stature, but every movement he made radiated grace and precision. His pale blue skin shimmered like frozen water, and his sleek armor, designed to withstand the freezing conditions of his homeworld, contrasted sharply with Varek's fiery reds. Their ships had collided in the vast reaches of space, both on missions of conquest and both stranded here on this forsaken moon, their vessels reduced to nothing more than smoldering wrecks. The radio systems were down, the terrain uninhabitable. There was no escape. And so, the battle began. Kaelon had been the first to strike, launching a flurry of ice missiles from his suit's thrusters. Varek had barely dodged, the frozen projectiles crashing into the ground in a burst of sharp, brittle sound. The ground around them had erupted in a storm of ice and ash, but Varek was unfazed. He was used to heat. This chill was nothing compared to the infernos of Ignar. "You will not escape, Kaelon." Varek's voice was distorted by the speaker in his helmet, but the hatred in his tone was unmistakable. His blade hummed as he ignited it, a low, menacing growl emanating from its core. Kaelon's eyes, hidden behind his frosty visor, glinted with determination. Kaelon lunged forward, his spear whirling in the air with unnatural speed. The crystal edges of the weapon shimmered as it sliced through the air, aimed directly at Varek's neck. Varek parried with his energy blade, the two weapons clashing with a thunderous crack. Kaelon twisted his spear and disengaged, narrowly avoiding a powerful sweep from Varek's massive blade. He darted back, using his thrusters to propel him into a roll, his movements fluid and precise. He wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for revenge. "Ignar's flames will not burn forever," Kaelon hissed, his voice cold. "Your people's hubris will be your downfall." Varek growled, stepping forward and slamming his blade into the ground. The impact sent shockwaves through the surface. "I am Ignar's fire," Varek spat. "We do not burn, we consume." Kaelon's expression darkened as he glanced at the horizon. The fight was draining him. He could feel the icy winds biting at his suit, sapping his energy. He needed to end this soon. Varek launched forward, his enormous frame crashing into Kaelon with terrifying force. The impact sent Kaelon tumbling to the ground, his spear flying from his hand. His helmet cracked against the rock, sending a wave of pain through his head. Kaelon's eyes flickered with a cold determination. In a desperate maneuver, he activated the emergency systems of his suit. A burst of energy surged through him, propelling him upward and catching Varek off guard. The warrior from Ignar stumbled back. With a speed that was almost unnatural, Kaelon reached for his spear, now imbued with an icy charge from his suit. He swung it forward, the crystalline weapon arcing through the air in a deadly arc. The strike hit Varek square in the chest, piercing through the thick armor. Varek roared in pain, but he wasn't finished yet. He reached down, his hands grasping the icy spear and pulling it from his chest with a brutal, defiant scream. The wound was deep, but not fatal, not yet. Varek staggered back, his body already healing. Kaelon didn't hesitate. He rushed forward again, his form a blur as he drove the spear toward Varek's head. But Varek's reflexes were honed by years of combat experience. He swung his blade upward, deflecting the spear just inches from his skull. At one point, Kaelon managed to break free, darting to the side as Varek swung his blade wide. The blow missed, and Kaelon used the opportunity to strike at the exposed circuitry of Varek's suit. The surge of cold energy from his spear sent a pulse of freezing energy into the suit. Varek staggered again, his movements slow and sluggish. Kaelon's breath came in sharp bursts, his body aching from the constant exertion. But now was his chance. He lunged forward, aiming for the weak point in Varek's suit, the throat. The spear drove deep into the crack in the suit, and for a moment it seemed like the end. But Varek's final act was one of desperation. With a roar, he activated the last reserves of his suit's energy, sending a blast of fire so intense it created a shockwave that sent Kaelon flying backward. Kaelon crashed to the ground, his suit nearly torn apart, his vision swimming. He struggled to breathe through the suit's fractured systems, his heart pounding in his chest. The heat from Varek's explosion seared through the air, making the very ground beneath him tremble. When Kaelon finally regained his bearings, he saw Varek standing, battered but not broken. His armor was scorched, but he was still alive, still dangerous. And yet, both of them knew the truth. They were alone, stranded on this forsaken moon, with no way back. As the dust settled, the two warriors locked eyes once again. There was no more hatred between them, only the cold reality of their fate. The battle had been fought, but the war was far from over. They could not return home. They had no choice but to face each other once more. If you like this story, please comment, like, and subscribe.